Thank you. Gurudev, the core philosophy of Sanatan Dharma is rooted in acceptance. As Swami Vivekananda said at the World Parliament of Religions, he said, we believe not only in universal toleration, but we accept all religions as true. I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations of this earth. Gurudev, I'd like to start by asking you that do you believe that this philosophy of acceptance has been the driving force behind India's boundless potential and can be the driving force behind its future limitless growth?
Yes, there are two types of acceptance. One is a passive acceptance. जो हो रहा है होने दीजिए. But there is another type of acceptance where you accept in order to act. Sanatana Dharma stands for that type of acceptance which doesn't let you lay back or be complacent, rather be dynamic and look forward. When you accept what happens, your emotions calm down, then your intellect becomes sharper to act. That's the beauty here. We always say Sanatan Dharma. I always say, in Hindi, I say that which is Puratan and Nit Nutan, that which is ancient, at the same time new and very adaptable to situations, to events, to people and geopolitical situation, retaining its original flavor. That is Sanatana.
So just to take this forward, this relates also to how our society is, how our country is, how we have been as a people.
Yeah, see, we can never become fanatics.
Yes.
Fanaticism begins when you shut down your intellect. You start questioning. You start pondering. You put a lock on your intellect. That's when fanaticism begins. Our country has never been fanatic. We have always encouraged free thinking, original thinking, and honoring the roots at the same time.
So, Gurudev, in our country's history, there have been many challenging moments. We have had foreign invaders, we've been colonized. If I were to ask you this, that what brought us to that point? And now we are 75 years beyond shaking away the yoke of colonialism. How will our religion, our essential belief, what is in our culture has been given to us through generations, take us to a point where that never repeats itself? And if we are not as a religion, as a community, if we are not passive, how did that happen onto us?
Arnab, I can say it in one word.
Please.
It's infighting.
Infighting.
Infighting. If there was no infighting, if people were united, this would never have happened. Just a few hundred British soldiers could never have taken. A few hundred Mughals would have never have won this beautiful country. We were fighting. All the Maharajas were fighting. They were all embroiled themselves in their own little world. They never saw beyond their personal comfort to the comfort of the country. And those, like Maharana Pratap and Shivaji Maharaj, Sambhaji and all, they were being cheated and backstabbed by their own people. The history has told us many times. There were many Jaichans who rose up and for their petty benefits, for petty selfish goals, and they didn't care for.
Or is it that we lost touch with our own spiritual and cultural roots, which made it easier for us to become colonized?
Of course. A big vacuum was created on that as well. The religious leaders, spiritual leaders, instead of bringing spirituality to people, they waited for spiritual leaders, people to come to them, to their own places. So, you see, that was one time, but when the country is going through a tough time, it's a need for religious or spiritual leaders to go to people and provide them. See, in a very wealthy society or well-to-do society, people go to hospital, but sometime when there is a disaster, doctors need to go to the camps where people are. In the same way, spiritual leaders, instead of holding themselves just with rituals, they should have gone out and approached the people and comforted them from where they are and encouraged them, instead of making them passively accept, जो हो रहा है होने दीजिए, सब भगवान देख लेंगे. This type of attitude has also been a blot on our history.
Is that why you travel so much? You're living out of a suitcase. You're always reaching out. Gurudev is always talking to large numbers of people. And sometimes I ask him, what are you doing? He said, I'm just speaking to some people. And then someone sends me the picture of the number of people he's speaking to. Once I spoke to him, I said, what are you doing, Gurudev? He said, I'm speaking to some people. And then someone who was next to him showed me, I think it was in South America, the number of people he was speaking to. And it's just incredible. I think this reach out is so important, Gurudev, what you're doing. And this reach out in an era of what is described as westlessness. I've been reading this book by Samir Puri, Gurudev, where he says the West is not going away, but the influence of the West is on the decline. We must never assume that Western civilization will go away, but the influence of the West will be balanced by the emergence of Eastern civilizations. How do you view this, Gurudev?
I think the reverse is happening. The influence of East is taken roots in the West now.
Yes.
See, 45 years ago when we started yoga and meditation, yoga means people thought, oh, it's only for people who would stand in one leg and put all the ashes on them, maybe in the bank of Ganges somewhere. This type of narration was there. And today, Arnab, you have more than 2.5 billion people practicing yoga around the world. Yoga and meditation is more than $30 billion industry in US alone. So, yoga has become more an acceptable thing. Meditation has become so much more accepted. See, last year, December 6th, 193 countries came together and they wanted to declare, UN to declare World Meditation Day. This was not moved by India because we have already done the Yoga Day. Yoga includes meditation.
Yes.
But this was motivated by many other countries like Mexico and Liechtenstein, small country like Liechtenstein. It says we need meditation because the wellness of mental wellness is of dire consequence or importance today. And so people find that meditation is the way. And so they all came together and India joined them and said, of course, it's the route is here. So we jumped in and said, we will take this. Yes.
Maybe, Gurudev, you should teach Donald Trump some meditation. The way he's going these days. Maybe even J.D. Vance, after that last video, both of them need to go through a Gurudev session. That peacemaking effort would be fantastic for the world. I think that's what the world needs. Gurudev, we recently
I can't agree less.
Gurudev, we recently witnessed the Mahakumbh. And I thought that I must ask you for your views on it. I was in Lucknow a week before the Mahakumbh, and the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister came for an event like this of mine. And I asked him, Yogi ji, kitne log aayenge? And he said, we expect 45 crore Hindus to be at Mahakumbh. And later I told him and I told his team that, are you sure? I cannot fathom this number 45 crore. And then the number came on the last day, Gurudev, of 67 plus crore. And that evening, one of my panelists, Shantanu Gupta, had come, and I told him I want to speak to the officer who organized this. And there was an officer of 2007 or 8 card, a young officer. And I asked him, how do you calculate 67 crore? He said, we used incredible technology from AI to drones to mapping. He said, this number is real. Now, what does that number signify, Gurudev? In the history of our nation, what does the Kumbh, the congregation, the nature of the congregation, despite all negative narratives being put, what does that number signify?
Well, it shows the confidence in people that arrangements are made there for everyone to go. See, the faith for Kumbh was there even before.
Was there?
But people were scared to go because they thought, and how to go? First of all, transportation was a big issue. And you go there and there is not proper facilities for people to say. Now when they know that, yes, the government is able to handle, the administration is able to handle any number of people coming there, any crowd, so they get this confidence. Yeah, I too can go and come back safely. There is a joke moving around, you might have heard about it, Arnab. It says, a gentleman says, I lost my wife 3 times and I found her back all the 3 times. And this is, they have made very bad arrangements in the Kumbh that they are able to get people very quickly. So, the arrangement speaks for it. And then, when जब कहते हैं ना कि राजाश्रय मिल जाता है किसी चीज़ को, धर्म को जब राजा का आश्रय मिलता है, support from the administration, from the state, then लोगों के भीतर उत्साह भी बढ़ जाता है उससे.
हौसला भी बढ़ जाता है.
हाँ, राजाश्रय के बिना कभी कहीं भी कोई धर्म फलपा नहीं. दुनिया भर में देखिए हर सिविलाइजेशन को राजाश्रय मिला है.
So you are saying the political establishment is supporting this because, Gurudev.
That's the desire of people, so they have to support, and they're doing that what they have to do. That's good.
Is the political establishment being guided by the people or the people being encouraged by the political establishment, which leads to a spiritual awakening? Because it's been there in us. India has been under foreign invaders' rule for so many years, but we have never lost touch with our spiritual roots. So there's some resilience inside us, which despite all the attempts to distort our Hindu legacy or our Sanatan legacy has survived and become strong.
There was a sort of low self-esteem that got developed with this. People were very shy to express. We always thought, religion is our personal thing. We cannot make it public, our belief system. This type of narrative was floating around. And so people thought, this is not so cool. It's not so modern to encourage people going to Kumbh or going to temples. This is all sort of, people who are not so educated, the rural guys will go, and urban elites are nothing to do with, that sort of attitude was prevalent for a long time. But now that is changed because the leadership of the country proudly proclaimed, acknowledged and honored their own roots. Officers भी मंदिर जाते थे, टीका लगाते थे, बाहर आते ही सारा टीका पहुंच करके जाते थे. अब ऐसा नहीं करते. अब तो we are true to who we are. Before we used to hide our identity, feel so shy about our own identity. Now when the leadership stood for our culture, our for civilization, our religion, our Prime Minister stood for it, and all other ministers stood for it, then people woke up and say, hey, they feel very comfortable. It's like coming out of some shackle. We were trying to be somebody who we are not. Now we know, oh, it's okay to be who we are.
Yeah.
That self-confidence came up.
Gurudev, I felt so bad once when I had gone to Kashi many years back, before the Kashi Vishwanath temple complex had been redeveloped and built to what it is now. I have not been after that, but I felt very bad because I found the most ancient of temples and perhaps the most significant of religious symbols, shivlings, all scattered in a terrible urban ruin. And I even found that locals had built washrooms next to temples, it was so bad, it was so terrible, so terrible. So I like to connect things in my mind. And I want to share this with the audience that 3 weeks back, I had the good fortune of receiving a phone call from my dear friends Ajay and Rajita and from the Art of Living, to whom I'm deeply connected in my heart to you. And I was told about the fragments of the ancient shivling of Somnath that you have been blessed to receive. I couldn't believe it. And I was told that it had been handed over to you for reconsecration. And that evening, we did a program, and Gurudev came there. And the amazing thing about Gurudev, he does everything in a very playful way. I think I like that. Because I spend time with such serious people and people who take themselves so seriously. Doesn't matter if others take them seriously or not. And here is a man who everyone takes seriously, but a divine person. But he doesn't seem to take himself too seriously. He wears his greatness so lightly on his shoulders. Gurudev, I'll be frank with you. I love your easygoing, playful nature, which makes us feel so content and happy and relaxed in your presence. That evening, you held the fragments of the shivling in your hands, and you explained the significance of that. I found a different meaning there, Gurudev. In my mind, I'm linking that to the excavation of the legendary city in Dwarka, to the rebuilding of the Kashi Vishwanath complex, and I'm seeing in all of this a rebuilding and a reawakening of our civilization. Do you agree with me? And that is your immense contribution to our country. And I'd like you to tell me a little bit about that, because there have been so many distortions of our history. The reconsecration of the Shivling, Dwarka, Kashi Vishwanath, what do they all connect in?
And Mahakal, Ujjain, and Kedarnath.
And Kedarnath. What does it all suggest?
Kedarnath was in such shackles and it's in such shambles when we went there. And it's all shanty towns and very shabby atmosphere. But now, such a big difference there. Same with Varanasi. The little gullies, it would take so many hours for people to enter in the gullies in Shivaratri days. And people would not want to go again.
Yes.
Now, the facelift it has got is something that our country deserves this. It was long due. Thanks to our Prime Minister for really making Kashi Vishwanath temple what it is. And I mean, it's like Vatican of India.
Yeah, no less.
Kashi, not less than a Vatican city. And it needs those sort of facility for 1.4 crore people going there. Now, same has happened with Mahakal, Ujjain. The glory of Ujjain, you can see that now. We have only read in textbooks. Now this Somnath Shivling is very interesting. Perhaps it is the spiritual energy that got generated in the entire country after Kumbh. During the Kumbh, that this family, which has been holding this for 1,000 years, when the shivling was broken, the shivling was floating, it was never touched the ground. उसका भू स्पर्श कभी नहीं हुआ.
Yes, yes, yes.
तो ये अपने सुना है, पढ़ा है.
Yes, yes.
So when that shivling was broken, the pieces of that were taken by the Agnihotri family of South India, near Papanasham, near Tanjavur district, small village. And so they were keeping it in their home, and they couldn't see that as a pieces, broken pieces, though they made it into shivling. And in the year 1924, they met with Kanchi Paramacharya Chandrasekhara Saraswati ji. And he said, don't bring this out for another 1,000 years. Don't talk about another 100 years. This is what in 1924 he said. Don't bring this out for another 100 years. Then that becomes 1,000 years for now. So they went to Jayendra Saraswati Swamiji. He also said that after the Ram temple, only then we will think about it.
Okay.
Though the Paramacharya has said that after 100 years, we should think about later only, 100 years. We must respect what the eldest Guru has said. And then they said that the current Vijayendra Saraswati ji said, yes, go and give it to Gurudev, Shri Shri Ravi Shankar ji in Bangalore. And this is the Sankalpa of the senior Acharya also, to bring it out after 100 years.
Yes.
So it happened. And they brought it, and it's so interesting. This shivling has the magnetic effect. Unlike other magnets which has north and south pole, the magnet here is in the very center. It has 140 gauss.
Yes.
That's a huge magnetic force. So I feel this is a blessing. God, we say, has 5 qualities, 5 actions that God does. One is creation, sustenance, dissolution, and anugraha means blessing, and tirobhav means hiding. So Shiva was in hiding for 1,000 years, and he's come back.
But also means that 1,000 years back, that family, and 4,000 years, and the last 100 years, we knew that one day the shivling which was broken will come back. That means somebody has had a sense of history, or a sense of belief, or that we knew culturally that our culture can be suppressed but not defeated.
It cannot be eliminated.
Pardon me?
It can be suppressed, but it can never be eliminated.
Never be eliminated or defeated.
शिव जी को कोई मिटा नहीं सकते.
Wow. Gurudev, the Art of Living is a huge global organization. And I think that is such an incredible thing what you've built, an organic growth, not inorganic, but just organic, because it's received with love, blessings, and wisdom. Now, I want to understand how you read global events and global politics, and you lead a large global organization. I found this quotation of our fantastic foreign minister very interesting, because I feel that there's a new world order which is emerging now, Gurudev, with the West, as you have yourself said, declining a little bit, and we wanting to reclaim our identity, and we becoming more confident as a people. So Dr. Jaishankar had rightly pointed out when he went to Europe, he had talked about a Eurocentric mindset, and he said Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems, and the world's problems are not Europe's problems. So this is a new way of thinking, and we love the way it is enunciated. Gurudev, can you enlighten us something, because we want to receive your wisdom in terms of your experiences. Can you enlighten us with your experiences which have shown you that the world is embracing India's way, and what can the world learn from India in India's ethos and India's way of life? If you can share some of your experiences, you meet world leaders, you meet incredible personalities, you meet people all over the world, and you are everywhere, from Iceland to Australia, you're everywhere. So can you tell us a little bit about what you see?
There's a lot of things to say.
We would like to
But
hear.
I would say the prejudice in the minds of people are the limited responsibility and a sense of superiority consciousness
Okay.
can block someone to keep their eyes open. And the recent changes in the world have broken those eyes, have broken those walls. Now people are able to see beyond their, sense of, oh, this is the world. If you see the news, Arnab, in United States, the way the news is covered, rest of the world is only 2%, 3%, 4%, and America occupies 95%.
Yes.
So, and if there are some influencer people there, so Middle East, it will occupy more space there.
Yes.
Other than this, nobody matters at all. What is happening in Korea or in Japan or another place, it's none of their business. But this is changing fast now. It's no more the same narration that was being promoted and consciously thrust upon the rest of the world. Social media has done a good thing in breaking this.
Yes.
And then also, people are waking up because we are becoming more financially strong and independent.
Yes.
You may say so much about your culture, but until you are technologically and financially strong, and of course our military is also very good, have become very strong, the defense in this country. So these things will make people wake up and listen to us more. Yeah, and with world leaders, I would say they all have many challenges. I'm very highly stressed. And so, they don't know who is their friend and who is not. This is what happens. This is...
How do you manage to talk to people who are highly stressed and don't like each other? Because I've seen you talk to both sides and both sides seem to love you. Do they share their stress about each other with you?
That is how we have got to be, We have to be if you want to be bridge, you should have foot on both sides. Otherwise, you are not a bridge.
Now, Gurudev, all the politicians who will come today will come to you after this. And they'll say, we are very stressed. Gurudev, help us. I'm sure they come to you. I'm sure you won't share what they tell you. But Gurudev, we have so many challenges in our country also. I'm very troubled by the attempts to break our national unity. Mahakumbh is a symbol of our cultural unity. But cultural unity can be the base of national unity, but it cannot substitute national unity. Linguistic unity, religious unity, cultural unity and national unity. Now, there are attempts to break our country now. North versus South, Gurudev. Linguistic divisions, big debates on delimitation, regionalism and regional nationalism. Then there is this caste issue. Use caste once again. And Gurudev, we are all 90s kids. We saw what Mandal Commission did to the country. It broke our country. Ask all the 90s kids here.
I know all these
What
things
happens
happen.
here? Yes.
All these challenges take front seat if vested interests are active, number one.
Vested interest.
Vested interest, number one. Second, if people don't have a goal, they don't have a path to move on, they don't have something to cling on, they don't have something to do in their life, then their energy, our youth have tremendous energy, and it is diverted in these destructive tendencies.
No, I want to talk about caste, Gurudev. I'm very troubled by it. And I believe that when we are all here today, we don't look at the person sitting next to us and we don't define ourselves by our caste. Do we ever do that? We define ourselves by our belief, by our nationalism. Am I right? Am I speaking for all of us? But these politicians, but these politicians, Gurudev, we have
in politics, it becomes an easy vote bank.
Yeah, but that's dangerous for us.
Very dangerous.
Then what do we do here?
People normally in this country, if they want a good doctor, they don't ask you what is your caste. They want a lawyer, they don't go for a caste.
Correct. But my trouble is, Gurudev, sorry if I'm interrupting, I'm one of the few people on this planet who can interrupt you.
No,
you gave me the right.
Go ahead, yeah.
He loves me. He allows me to interrupt him, trouble him. I even call him when I have my problems. But he never says he won't take my call, so I feel I'm blessed. Gurudev, I'll tell you one thing. I studied social anthropology. And I went to the United Kingdom to study social anthropology. And I realized that in the United Kingdom and in France, they have made an academic discipline of caste. They will not talk about bhakti movement. They will not talk about Sant Kabir. But they will impose a French or British philosophical view on the fragmentation of Indian society on the basis of caste. And they tell us the only thing that matters in India is caste. I was so disappointed. I regretted I studied that course. Now, Gurudev, my question to you is, some Indian politicians use the Western interpretation and bring it back to India without realizing the essential unity of Indian society.
Correct.
So how do we break this? Are we in a trap? Are we in a trap?
This thing happened in United States of America, in the state of California.
Yeah.
They tried to bring this caste discrimination law against.
Yes.
Fortunately, the governor put it down. They said there is no need for it.
Great.
And so this is done because the people there, Indians there, they became more active. You know what happens now? The good people, the so-called good people, they don't act as much as those who are in negative mindset. The positive mindset people will say, we'll do it.
Let
Manana,
it be.
later,
Let it be.
We'll do it. Bhagwan dekh lenge. God will take care of it.
That's not a good approach.
That's not, And the negative people are super active.
Yes.
So this gave a chance for those who are in the positive mindset to take action. Jump into action. And so they succeeded in doing so. Yes. Because, see, people go there, in America there is no caste. But then trying to impose this fabricated story there and take mileage out of it is such a small-mindedness.
Yes.
And they don't care about the country or culture or nothing. It's all a very self-centered, selfish.
So what would you say to everyone to be vocal about these things? Because you began by talking about acceptance that was not passive.
Correct.
Which means we must not passively, would you say, Gurudev, we must not passively accept somebody else judging us, somebody else dividing us,
Correct.
using us. We must not passively accept it.
No, we should not.
We must not be passive.
No, we should not accept. And at the same time, we don't deny. Yes, there are discrimination still today in those areas where people are, whether are prejudiced or they are not well educated or whatever reason, that action need to be taken, and our constitution provides full protection for all that. But those, instead of, setting those things right, we take this in the international arena and take mileage out of it. I think it's doing more harm than any good to anybody.
So the message I received from you is we must confront in a rational way.
Correct. Unjust utilization of the division that unfortunately we have in this country from centuries.
Gurudev, my last question to you is actually what we are all looking forward to. Gurudev, I want you to tell all of us what you see for our country's destiny, and I want to link it to your thoughts about intuition. And you have said, and if I may quote you, Gurudev, that intuition means having the right thought at the right moment. Today, we are at a very pivotal juncture in our country's history. We all accept it. What does your intuition, what does Gurudev's intuition reveal about India's future and India's growth story?
In one word, I would say, very bright. India's future is bright. We will be stronger, prosperous, moreover, more spiritual and happy society, which would showcase a model to the whole world. Just this one Kumbh with so many different sampradayas, so many different traditions coming together, celebrate, everyone doing their own thing, has showcased to the world there is possibility for unity in all diverse faiths, in diversity. We don't have to fight over things. And billions of people coming there, yet no crime. This shows that India's greatness is its spiritual glory, where we stand for ahimsa, non-violence. We stand for Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We are all one human family beyond all divisions, beyond all differences, and beyond all, mindsets. This embracing the whole earth, whole globe as one. And moreover, on top of this, we are very environmentally conscious. We are doing so much for green energy than anybody else in the world. And nobody can point us towards us and say, you are spoiling the planet. No, we are nurturing the planet physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in all the way. So there is no limit for India's future and growth. Thank you.
One last thought. Everyone going away will want one, or staying with us after this session will want one thought from you. I want one thought of the day from Gurudev Shri Shri Ravi Shankar for all those who are watching this live on streaming, on channels, all of us here today. One thought we should carry with us today.
Arnab, this is like going to a pharmacy and asking them, give me one medicine. Why do you limit in one thought? See, this is a Western idea, Arnab. We want one thing. We say many things. We have the victor, we have all the colors. We have so many thoughts. Let many thoughts come to us from every side. This is the mantra of Rig Veda. It says, Anu Bhadra Kratavo Yantu Vishwato Mukha. Let thoughts come to, noble thoughts come to us from all sides. Wonderful.
I'm sure, I'm so relieved that Gurudev never became a TV anchor. I would be out of a job. But I only ask that one question because, as they say in Hindi, ye dil mange more. When you are on the stage, ye dil mange more. We love you with all our dils. We believe in you. You bless us. You make us feel positive. You've left the room today with a lot of energy around. Aren't we more energized after this? Gurudev, thank you. Thank you, Gurudev. Shri Shri Ravi Shankar, the one and only. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Gurudev, for your illuminating and thought-provoking conversation. Your wisdom, vision, and unwavering belief in a limitless Bharat will inspire us all. I'd like to request the director of Parimal Mandir, Shri Vijay Sunku, to please come up and felicitate.